Well, I think I definitely have another interesting personal blog that I can talk about here, and it's kind of a expansion of my last one here. You can see it right here. Here we are up to personal blog number 79 here, and I think it's definitely related to what's been going on with the global pandemic and the COVID-19 year. That this is definitely a time that we should be changing mental health stigmas here. As one thing that I would say I didn't mention in my previous video, where I figure what could change from this pandemic here. But the one thing that I've definitely have noticed, and as the fact that we've been self-isolating, working from home here, and also the fact that it's definitely been different to have staff meetings virtually everywhere here, and everyone's keep mentioning the same thing, and you definitely seen it much more in the news, and I'm definitely feeling it myself here. But and definitely being a guy here, there's definitely gotta have to be some mental health stigmas that we need to change here, and definitely figure that we need to talk about it a lot more here, because we're definitely going to be seeing an increase in mental health issues, potentially, or already even more so with this pandemic going on here. But there's definitely, we need to change some stigmas in how we approach it here, because we all are always concerned about our physical health here. Obviously, one of the reasons why we're supposed to be social distancing and working at home is to limit the spread of this virus. That's been going around the whole world clearly here, and definitely has been an issue here. And it's also kind of tough, with all the fear and uncertainty right now, that our mental health is definitely taking a toll here. And one of the ways that I have been coping is, thankfully, I've been more active on this platform to make videos, and that's definitely been one way to cope with it. But there's still a lot of stigmas around mental health here. I know that Bell, which is one of the big telecommunication companies in Canada here, I know we love to hate telecommunication companies here, but usually it's around the last Wednesday in January here. They have the Bell Let's Talk, which brings awareness on mental health. And I know Bell, usually if you retweet it or mention the hashtag Bell Let's Talk there, usually they donate 5 cents for every retweet or that. I know they did that one year and raised thousands and thousands of dollars, obviously, to various mental health causes here. And being a guy here, I know one of the campaigns that has really, don't think has gone as big as much, but it definitely has gone big, is the Movember campaign, where it's just kind of playing on the word November, where at the beginning of the month there, you shave your face clean, and then you grow a mustache in the month of November. And that's definitely turned into a campaign where it originally was just with prostate cancer, but now it expands to testicular cancer and men's mental health here. And there's definitely needs to be some stigmas we need to change about mental health here, because we are always concerned about our physical health, being in physically good shape, not worrying about this COVID thing, where we worry about our physical health, but mentally is just as important, because if you're not mentally stable and right here, it's definitely going to affect other areas of the your health here, and how you try to take care of yourself, and just outlook. And if you're definitely not right up in there mentally, you're definitely going to be doing potentially harm to yourself and others here. And I figure maybe this will be a chance to maybe look at that and change stigmas here. And because it's not as easy to talk about needing the help on it. And then also the fact that I think one of the stigmas that needs to change is, when you do want to seek help here, it definitely does not need to be scoffed off here. And I think definitely there's a reason why I think you see a lot more, why it affects men a lot more hardly, because I think there's a couple of reasons I'll talk about here. But I know another campaign that also actually locally here in Calgary, and actually I went to St. here, and my team, the St. Trojans, I know they have that Make Some Noise campaign about talking about mental health, and just talking about it and bringing more awareness on there. That's definitely another interesting campaign there. I mean, there's tons of campaigns out there that you know about trying to raise awareness here. And being a sports fan here, it's definitely intriguing that there's some athletes that you think are, man, I love how this guy plays. He plays as tough as nails. Or there was an issue many years ago that I think we're starting to raise awareness on, that you don't see it as much in hockey now. But, it was actually exciting at that time there, where we had the tough guy or enforcer role here, where, it's like, wow, this guy fights. It's exciting to see a fight in hockey. But, and then you think, wow, he's a vicious meanie on the ice here. He's a villain off the ice. And then, a lot of the time I actually find that, tough guys or enforcers in the past there, they're actually like the nicest person you ever meet, that you never thought that, wow, this guy's vicious and feared on the ice, but he's a villain. But off the ice, he's like the best gentleman. And maybe that's one of the reasons that they cope with that. But you definitely hear some mental health where people eventually turn to drugs and alcohol and maybe take their own life here. But I think one of the reasons why it hits guys a lot more is, part of it is being a guy, and guys in general here, is that generally we don't like to express and share our feelings. This is just a generalization, that we definitely don't like to share and express our feelings as much as women. That's why it seems like if a woman wants to get help, it's a lot easier, and they seem to get taken more seriously. But they definitely need to take it much more seriously with men in general here, because you could say that first part is, men, or it's like, well, we're tough and brawny. We don't like to show our emotions here. But you know what? Part of this mental health thing and stigma here is that we try to hold it in as much as we can, and then eventually it overtakes us, because we can only be so strong for so long here, that eventually we break, and that's where eventually you might abuse drugs and alcohol here. And then you hear stories about some guys that eventually when they be too macho for too long and eventually seek help, that they don't get treated seriously for that reason. And that's definitely one stigma that definitely needs to change. And definitely you're going to see potentially an increase of that a lot more with this pandemic, and given how long it is going on, and especially with the social distancing and isolation. And also one of the things that I definitely loved, that to get away from it, that fortunately is not happening right now, is the sports and going out and gathering here. But that's definitely a couple stigmas there that maybe we hold it in too long, and then eventually when we seek help, it's like, oh, you're a guy, you're tough, suck it up. And then the problem is that we sucked it up too long, where it's starting to overtake us. And then that help, that's where I think why we need to get rid of those stigmas. That and there's definitely been a lot out there. You hear a lot of tough guys that, going back to the enforcers here, that there was a few players in the off season that passed away in a short time, because obviously if you're fighting a lot there and you take a lot of damage to your brain there. But then you hear players that abuse drugs and alcohol, or they tremor and collapse, or eventually take their life due to suicide or from overdosing here. And definitely have to say that's where it comes back to the mental health here, because it definitely takes a certain personality to want to do that for a living. But then it's just a prolonged use of it there, and that's what you always hear here. And that's why I want to take away from this is that the fact that we definitely need to change the stigmas and bring more awareness on it. And then if someone is seeking help, they should definitely not get told to suck it up, or oh, it's just a phase, or you're a man, you're tough, deal with it. Well, when it gets to that point for them, they've dealt it over too long, and you actually do see some other memes on social media that they say that they perceive people that are crying being weak as, and they spin it the other way. It says no, it's not they're weak. It's just they've been so strong for so long that eventually they can't take it right now. But yeah, this is definitely, I think, a time to put this out here, not with the Bell Let's Talk or any campaigns with Movember or anything else. I just think this is definitely something that we need to change our attitudes on. And if someone needs help, they should definitely get more support on it, not just thinking they're weak or nibble, or because everyone looks at physical health. If you're sick, stay home. But then what happens if you're not right up here? That affects your performance there and your personality or your life here, and eventually abuse drugs and alcohol. It definitely, your mental health definitely needs to come also in the forefront too. If maybe you don't look sick, and that's the other thing that's tougher too, is you see people out in the street, you just think, oh, it's just another person. They look normal, but you don't know if they're not wired up here, and that's the other thing that's trickier. But I think the big thing is we need to get rid of some stigmas on it. That being a guy, yeah, maybe we're guilty of being too macho for too long, but then we definitely don't need to be told to suck it up. You're tough, because some stigmas around it is because we've been sucking up and being tough for so long that eventually that overtakes it. And that's where you hear these stories about guys eventually turning to drugs and alcohol, and eventually you hear that they pass away from it or take their own life. And we're definitely going to see a lot more of these challenges, even more so given how long this pandemic's going on. Not just obviously the fear of potentially getting the virus, but just the side effects has been the mental isolation, not being able to take in activities or working in different environments here. And I definitely have seen with virtual meetings from coworkers and the leadership, partners and associates, the firm I work with. You definitely, on one hand, you definitely see them in a more relaxed atmosphere than you see in an office, but they've been also mentioning, about this taking a day at a time and, hour by hour, and I'm definitely feeling the same things. And this is one of the things that I have been coping, and I obviously appreciate all the support and comments and engagement with my videos, especially this time here. And I have actually slowly have been seeing more growth, so thanks for all that. But I'll just leave it at that here, is that we need to change some mental health stigmas here all the time. But I think this is definitely another critical time that we need to put out here and make some noise on it, talk about it, and bring more awareness. And don't tell someone to just suck it up, you're tough, because they probably sucked it up and they were tough for long enough that they held on too long, that they need the outlet there. So if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders, I mostly do Calgary sports and other sports content, and there's still been some content, a lot of it lately been games not happening or speculating on when games could happen again, but I definitely have some ideas on how to make sports videos in the future as a sports fan. And I actually do personal vlogs where I talk about anything, but the last couple have been more timed with what's been going on here. And actually, surprisingly, for how long my previous personal vlog here, I definitely got a lot more engagement and watch time on that, which I came up with many ideas that could potentially change from this, and hopefully this is one of them. But I came up with some other ideas in that previous personal vlog that speculating that there's a lot of similar emotions from 9/11, where suddenly things are more scary and we think about things that we never thought about long and hard before, but we are now. And obviously the economic effects, which kind of leads to this personal vlog as well there. But I also do attempt a comedy. I call it attempt a comedy. I'm trying to be funny or come up with ideas and try to present it in a funny way. And we definitely probably could use a little more of that right now. But I also share my experiences on the road or at a sporting event there. To look back on when things were a little better, and when we all gathered in this building called a stadium. Remember that? When are we going to do that again? And hopefully it's sooner rather than later. To keep a mental health balance there. But if that's all sounds like you'd be interested to watch, do follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I also have my other social media links down in the description below, where I share the moments where I got to actually did this thing called go outside and go see things and experience things. Remember that? Yeah, it'd be great whenever we get to do that again, but we gotta follow the advice from the health officials and governments so we can stay as healthy as we can and hopefully get through this. And I'm gonna say we definitely need to change mental health stigmas, which was the topic of this personal vlog here. So, as I was all say, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for all the content that you have consumed on my channel here. And I know that's one of the things we've all been coping has been watching more content on this platform here, and hopefully you've come along to some of my videos along your viewing pleasure there. So, thank you.